Hello everyone, this is 14th lecture on subject income tax 2, and in today's class we are going to learn exemptions under section 54 EC and exemption under section 54F. We are also going to solve one case study on exemption under section 54F in combination with 54 EC. In previous class we have learnt exemption under section 54. Exemption under section 54 is available on capital gain, that is on transfer of long-term residential house. If the assessee transfers residential house and also purchases a new residential house after he receives the capital gain. But section 54 EC is available on transfer of any of the long-term capital asset, but the investment is made in certain specified bonds, and those specified bonds are National Highways Authority of India, investment in the bonds of National Highway Authority of India, or in the bonds of Rural Electrification Corporation, or Power Finance Corporation, or Indian Railway Finance Corporation. There are only two rules for the exemption under this section. One is, an assessee can invest any amount he or she wants to invest in the bonds. That is, there is no limit on investment in the bonds of these corporations, but the maximum amount of exemption that can be claimed is rupees 50 lakhs. One more rule is, after purchasing the bonds, the assessee cannot sell these bonds for minimum 3 years. So the lock-up period for the bonds is 3 years. After 3 years, the assessee can sell the bonds, and then only he can claim exemption under this section. I repeat once again, this exemption, that is exemption under section 54 EC, is available on transfer of long-term capital assets, but the investment has to be done in certain specified bonds, and those specified bonds are these A, B, C, D. And the rules for this are, one is, an assessee can invest any amount he wants. Second is, the maximum amount of exemption that can be claimed is up to rupees 50 lakhs. And after purchasing the bond, assessee should not sell these bonds minimum for 3 years. After 3 years, he or she can sell. Only then the exemption under this section can be claimed. Now, next is exemption under section 54F. Exemption under section 54F is available when assessee transfers any other capital asset. That is, assessee transfers shares, bonds, gold, jewellery, etc. other than residential house or building, but the investment is made in the residential house. In that case, the exemption under section 54F is available. And the formula to calculate exemption under section 54F is, amount invested in new house including the deposits made in capital gain account scheme into long-term capital gains divided by net consideration. So exemption under section 54F is available on capital gain on transfer of long-term capital asset other than residential house, and the investment is made in the residential house. Let us see one sum on exemption under section 54 in combination with exemption under section 54 EC. And the question is, the details of properties by Vivek during the previous year 2019-20 are as follows. We are given information regarding three different capital assets. One is debentures, shares and gold. Debentures are financial capital assets, wherein shares are financial capital assets. Gold is non-financial capital asset. We are given information regarding date of purchase, date of transfer, cost of purchase, sale proceeds and expenses on sales. And on these information we are asked two questions. One is compute the capital gain if Vivek purchases a residential house costing rupees 7 lakh, and second is what advice would you give to avoid capital gain tax. And you are asked to compute the capital gain chargeable to tax for the assessment year 2021, and the cost inflation index for the previous year 2002-03 is 105, 2003-04 is 109, 2004-05 is 113 and 2019-20 is 289. Before we solve the sum, first we have to identify the nature of asset, then the cut-off holding period and the holding period of the assessee regarding the capital asset. Debenture is financial capital asset and the cut-off holding period for debenture is 12 months. The date of purchase is 2003 and date of transfer is 2019. So debentures are long-term capital assets. Same it is in case with shares. Shares are purchased in year 2005 and sold in the year 2019. So they are long-term capital asset. Gold purchased in year 2004, sold in year 2019. In case of gold, the cut-off holding period is 3 years or 36 months. As the assessee is holding the gold for more than 3 years, even gold is a long-term capital asset. So this problem is based on long-term capital asset, resulting long-term capital gain or loss. Now let us start solving the sum. Before you take down the sum or the solution, note down the entire sum and then only you will understand the solution. Here the first capital asset given is debentures. We have to take full value of consideration for debentures. Full value of consideration the debentures are sold for rupees 2,03,000. From this we have to deduct selling expenses less selling expenses. We are given in the sum selling expenses are rupees 3,000. So the balance remaining is rupees 2 lakh, which is known as net consideration. From net consideration we have to deduct cost of acquisition. Though the debentures are long-term capital asset, we need not calculate indexation for debentures or bonds. Therefore, we are deducting only cost of acquisition and not indexed cost of acquisition. and these debentures are purchased at rupees 1,80,000. Therefore, the remaining balance, that is long-term capital gain, is rupees 20,000. This is long-term capital gain from debentures. Now the second capital asset is shares. First we take full value of consideration. Full value of consideration is nothing but the amount of sale of the shares, and these shares are sold at rupees 3,06,700. From this we have to deduct selling expenses. For shares, we are not provided any information relating to selling expenses, therefore it is nil. The balance remaining is 3,06,700, which is known as net consideration. From net consideration we deduct indexed cost of acquisition. Indexed cost of acquisition. And we calculate indexed cost of acquisition as cost of acquisition into cost inflation index for the year of transfer divided by cost inflation index for the year of acquisition. The shares are acquired at rupees 45,200. The cost inflation index at the date of transfer is 289, and it is divided with cost inflation index at the date of purchase. It is purchased at the cost inflation index of 113. Therefore, we get 1,15,600 as index cost of acquisition. When we deduct 1,15,600 from net consideration, that is 3,06,700, we get a balance of rupees 1,91,100. $1,91,100, which is known as long-term capital gain from shares. Now the next capital asset is gold. First we take full value of consideration. Gold is sold at rupees 11,60,000. Full value of consideration. Gold is sold at rupees 11,67,000. From this we deduct expenses on transfer, expenses on sales or expenses on transfer. For gold also We are not given any expenses on transfer, therefore it is nil, and the balance is 11,67,000, which is known as net consideration. Now from net consideration we have to deduct indexed cost of acquisition. Indexed cost of acquisition of gold, and it is calculated as cost of acquisition into CII for the year of transfer divided by CII on the date of purchase. The gold is acquired at rupees 4,36,000. Cost inflation index, always we take it for the previous year, that is 289. We divide it by the cost inflation index at the date of purchase, which is 109. So we get amount 11,56,000. $11,67,000 minus 11,56,000, we get long-term capital gain from gold at rupees 11,000. Long-term capital gain at rupees 11,000. Now next, we are done with all the capital assets, that is debentures, shares and gold. Now we have to add all the long-term capital gains. We get 2,22,100 as total gross long-term capital gain. Gross long-term capital gain. From this gross long-term capital gain, we deduct exemptions less exemptions under section 54F. Why we are claiming exemption under section 54F is because in the question in additional information we are provided some information, that is compute the capital gain if he purchases a residential house costing rupees 7 lakh. Here the assets sold are other than residential house. All the assets that are transferred in the previous year are debentures, gold as well as shares. But the investment made is in residential house. In such case, the exemption under section 54F is available. That is the reason we are claiming here the exemption under section 54F, and we know the formula how to calculate exemption under section 54F, that is long-term capital gain into cost of house divided by net consideration. Let us show the calculation. You can also show it separately as a working note. Cost of long-term capital gain arrived is 2,22,100. 2,22,100 into cost of new houses 7 lakh. In question number 1 you are given that if he purchases a new house for rupees 7 lakh. This we have to divide it with net consideration. Now in case of gold, net consideration is 11,67,000. In case of shares, net consideration is 3,06,700. In case of debentures, net consideration is 2 lakh. So when we add all these, we get total net consideration of 16,73,000. Now we get the exemption of rupees 92,929. 2,22,100 into 7 lakh divided by 16,73,000, and the balance remaining now is 1,29,171, which is our final answer, known as taxable capital gain. Taxable capital gain. I hope you have understood this sum. You are asked one more question, that is, what advice would you give to avoid capital gain tax? In the solution we have seen that the total capital gain that arise from transferring these three capital assets is 2,22,100. But under section 54F, the assessee could claim exemption only up to rupees 92,929. There is still a capital gain balance of rupees 1,29,171, wherein assessee needs to pay tax on the same. To avoid this tax, an assessee can make investment in the long-term capital assets such as those specified bonds which we discussed under section 54EC, such as investment in the bonds of National Highway Authority of India, Rural Electrification Corporation, Power Finance Corporation, Indian Railway Finance Corporation, wherein an assessee can claim exemption up to rupees 50 lakhs. So if you are asked to advise the assessee to avoid capital gain tax, then your advice would be, advise the assessee to make investment in the specified bonds wherein he or she can claim exemption up to rupees 50 lakhs. I hope you have understood the sum. Write down the sum and then you see the solution for better understanding.